With the general election only a couple of weeks away, I know for all of my fellow educators, education will be high on the list, but isn't really being talked about in the news compared to other issues. But you might not know what each of the parties have said about education if they do win the election. So I thought I'd do a very quick rundown of what each party are promising. A big shout out to TheKey, who has provided all this information. I'll put a link to this article in the description. Let's get started with the Tories, and at the top of their priority list, which just goes to show how clueless they are, is this proposal to replace A-levels with an advanced British standard, which, if you take that as an acronym, ABS, tells you everything you need to know. They also talk about bonuses and retention and reducing workload, but we've had 14 years of them in power, so I don't believe any of that's going to change. They're putting a statutory ban on phones, which most schools already have. Then you've got the culture war stuff, which again, I think most teachers feel there are so many other priorities. Is there anything that the Tories have announced that I do agree with or support? Possibly the one about the PE here. I think PE has been neglected because they cut all the funding, but I still think that needs to go further. Now on to Labour, and their big announcement is around recruiting 6,500 new teachers, which I welcome, although I think the bigger priority has to be stopping the 40,000 teachers leaving a year. I think that is more important. How they are going to recruit these teachers, I still have my reservations when teaching is not a very desirable job in this day and age. That definitely needs to change, but how that's going to happen, I don't know. I do welcome these reforms around Ofsted, although I think they need to go further and actually make Ofsted accountable for the dreadful retention rate we have in schools, as I feel they are one of the main contributors to it. They've also made some pledges towards reviewing the curriculum, which includes looking at maths, assessment methods, early language work, which I really do welcome, protecting time for PE, again, I think it's important, and also addressing misogyny and teaching pupils about healthy relationships and consent. I quite like all of that. Then there are a number of pledges around SEND and mental health, which very much welcome, but a lot of people will say don't go far enough. But I think that's a case of Labour not wanting to promise things they can't deliver. And there are questions about a few of these things. You can pause and sort of read them here. I mean, it's things for me like free breakfast clubs. Is that going to be funded so it's not an extra thing teachers need to do? Supervising teeth brushing. I'm not a dentist, I'm a teacher. Is that going to be done by someone other than me, or is that going to end up adding to my workload? They're also making sure that every new teacher holds a qualified teacher status. And then obviously I'm sure you've heard about the VAT thing with private schools, because that seems to be the only thing mentioned about education in the news. On to the Lib Dems, and when it comes to retention and recruitment, they are going to reform the teacher school review body with fully funded annual pay rises. They're going to extend pupil premium funding to children from 16 to 18, creating new entitlements for extracurricular activities for disadvantaged children, and redirect capital funding to help with the backlog of school building repairs. I think for me, their announcements around SEND are probably the best out of the political parties. They also say they're going to get rid of those single word Ofsted judgments. They also make a couple of other pledges, including implement a new parental engagement strategy. Now get ready for the Green parties. An $8 billion increase in school funding, including $2 billion set aside for a teacher pay uplift, the abolishment of Ofsted, the end of high stakes testing, free school meals for all pupils, adequate support in the school system for pupils with SEND needs, growing, preparing, cooking food to be included in the core curriculum. Hard to disagree with any of that. Do I have to talk about theirs? Obviously, for most of us, there are definitely other elements that will influence who we vote for and why. But just based on those announcements around education, who has impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.